So good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our Wheel and Anchor webinar on our Italian villa experience. I'm thrilled with everybody that could join us this morning and look forward to sharing with you and together with my colleagues who I'll introduce in just a moment all about this exciting new program, the first in what we hope will be a series of programs to Italy and experiencing these wonderful villas, a different way to travel. So let me start off for those of you who are new to us to tell you a little bit about Wheel and Anchor and what we're all about. So for those that have been on many webinars before and are familiar with our organization, we're a Canadian company and we're all about bringing like-minded travelers together. So people who have already well-traveled and who are interested in meeting other people and experiencing some different parts of the world through programs that I personally curate. You know, for us, it's all about the shared experience of seeing the world in a different way. So nothing that we do is mass tourism oriented. It's all about curated experience. And I have a personal vision for all of the members in our community, which is about being well-traveled and well-connected. And what does well-traveled mean? Well-traveled doesn't mean just going through and checking off places on a bucket list and saying, oh, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there. But rather, you know, having had the experience to spend time, meet people, experience the wonderful culture and food and wine and all the things that are in these different parts of the world. So it's a different approach to say that one is well-traveled. It's all about being a little bit more worldly and understanding of the broader world around us, and as well to be well-connected. And that is about, you know, meeting other people. And, you know, we all have, those of us that are travelers have friends who've traveled in different parts of the world. We get together, we share stories, and it's always exciting to hear other travelers' stories. That inspires us to go out and venture to more places around the world, as well as just, you know, have the camaraderie of other people who have a broader understanding about the world at large. So that's my personal goal for you. Joining me on the webinar this morning, I'm very excited to have a couple other people. You see a whole bunch of faces in front of you. So myself, by introduction, my name is Gordon. I am the founder of Wheel and Anchor, as many of you will know. Joining us today in the background is my colleague, Paula Zarnik, who is our senior trip specialist, as well as Joel Curry, who's my right-hand man and does our technical support on this webinar. But more importantly, well, everybody's important, but we have Todd Kjaergaard. He is at the bottom right of the three images on the screen. Todd is going to be the host of our program to Italy this year. Todd, you used to live in Italy way back when, so this is like going home for you a little bit.
Yes, it is. My heart is still there. It's nice to find it again.
Exactly. And just before we started the webinar, Todd was quipping in his few phrases of Italian with Manuel. So a perfect host for this particular trip. And the other gentleman and his colleague above that is Manuel Gazzolo from Italy. These are the fine gentlemen who we work with to put together this interesting program. Manuel, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your colleague's name.
Yeah. Hi, Gordon. Thank you. Here's my partner, Carlo, that is the owner of the
fantastic. Well, welcome to both of you. Thank you for dialing in all the way from Italy this morning. It's a pleasure to have you and to get some of your insights in what makes this program so special. Let's talk about the plan today. Those of you that have joined us this morning, you're clearly curious about Italy and what it means to go and stay in an Italian villa. And I tell you, if you don't know of anybody that's done this before, it is a very different experience than what you typically do and go and stay in all the hotels, because the villas they have in Italy, my experience has been, including the ones we have in this program, are truly amazing. It's like a castle. And so I'm here as usual to be your guide and your explorer as we go through this Italian villa experience that we've got planned for you in October, and in northern Italy, this part of Italy that we're going to talk a little bit about in just a moment. So before we get into the program itself, Manuel, this program is all about the Palladian villas. And a lot of them, particularly the ones in Vicenza, are UNESCO World Heritage Site. Could you tell us just in a few words about the Palladian villas of Veneto and what their significance is?
Yeah. If you can come back to the previous slide, on the right, that facade is the place where we are now. We are now here.
Okay, one at the very beginning.
Is in this UNESCO Heritage Palace. Anyway, it's very important UNESCO heritage, since it's the only one that is spread all around our region, and is a passage among the classical world, so Athens and Rome, toward Britain, and from Britain, the rest of the world. So Palladianism, that is the only artistic movement that is named by an architect, is the White House style. And all over the world, you have all these architectures that talk about our values, about civilization, that come from Athens and Rome, but pass through here, through our UNESCO heritage and through Vicenza and Veneto.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You will why when you'll come.
Excellent. Yeah. So the whole point is we need to get there to understand more about these wonderful villas. Let's look at the map of the program just to give our members a bit of an understanding about where we're going, what this is all about. We're going to fly into Milan, partly because we have some great air connections from particularly Toronto, but from other cities in Canada as well via European gateways. We're going to head into Milan. We're going to make the drive over through Verona down to Villa Pisani Bonetti, which is where we're going to be staying at the villa for this week. And we're going to be in this area which is to the south of the Alps, visiting these different towns. Some of them may be familiar to you, like Verona and Padua, names you'll likely recognize from Shakespearean plays, but some of these other towns as well that we're going to talk about in a moment. So this is the area of focus. And again, the beauty of this program is that we are, in fact, really focused on this one particular area, which is full of history, full of culture. So let's dive right into the program itself and tell you a little bit about what we can experience along the way. So on the first day, of course, as I say, we're going to we're going to arrive in Milan, and we're going to transfer right over to our villa. It's about a couple hours drive from Malpensa Airport to the villa, and we're going to be staying in this spectacular place here. It's a UNESCO site, as Manuel just mentioned. Let's take a few moments actually and tell us a little bit about the villa itself, and why it is so special, or what makes it so beautiful. I mean, it's truly elegant, as you can see from the photos here. But Manuel, describe it for us. Okay,
just for this question, I ask you 20 seconds more, because we have the owner of the villa here, that is Carlo Bonetti. That's why the villa is named Villa Pisani Bonetti. So I'll translate from him.
Ecco, io sono felice che questa nostra iniziativa di avere portato la villa al suo massimo splendore da quando è stata fatta dal Palladio.
Yeah, he took this villa, made a huge investment to have it as its best from the times of the first building now, 500 years ago.
Abbiamo cercato poi di unire questo capolavoro rinascimentale del Palladio alla nostra passione, che è quella per l'arte contemporanea.
So the aim was to keep together the masterpiece, the Rinascimental masterpiece, with also the passion for contemporary art.
Poi abbiamo anche la fortuna di avere delle piste ciclabili vicino alla villa per visitare diciamo, il borgo di Lonigo con un turismo fatto con la bici elettrica, che è un'altra cosa secondo me molto interessante.
Yeah, and all another part of the job was toward the institutions in order to have the infrastructures around us. So he did a really great job. So you have a lot of cycleways around, and with the bikes you can explore all around the country. That is a beautiful one.
Oh, that's terrific.
Tutto tra l'altro con una ristorazione nostra interna e con ecco, adesso vedete per esempio una delle camere, abbiamo fatto 18 camere tutte arredate in modo diverso, seguendo però lo stesso filo di comfort.
So the standard is very, very high, but the 18 rooms are all different. So there's an idea of a style for sure, very respectful about the origin, but any room is different.
Oh, perfect.
Speriamo che tutti questi elementi possano dare a voi una piacevole. Qui vedete adesso una delle grandi sale che ci sono, poi ci sono anche delle sale più piccole, proprio per mettervi nelle condizioni migliori di visitare un posto molto particolare, molto riservato e al di fuori dalla confusione che c'è diciamo in giro per il mondo.
Yeah, the hope of Mr. Bonetti is to give to his guests the chance to stay in a very relaxing situation. This is one of the public spaces. There are lots of public spaces that are incredible, let me say it, because we know the structure. And so you will feel in a place that is completely exclusive and far from the confusion on the world. That is the aim.
Sounds great. Let me just ask just a couple of quick questions. So before we move on to our day-by-day itinerary, the villa is more than just one building. I think there's a few buildings in the complex. Is that right?
Sì, c'è diciamo che c'è la parte principale della villa, che voi avete visto la foto. Tra l'altro quella è la foto della parte posteriore. Non so se abbiamo avuto modo di far vedere anche la parte anteriore verso il fiume.
Yeah, the first photo was about the villa itself. That is the back of the villa. So there's another facade that is the main one that has to be discovered. It's not in that photo. And then the other principal building is the Barchessa, where you can also, there's also an osteria, so a very high level place to eat, not only to sleep. And a lot of other spaces around.
Sì, so poi c'è anche un piccolo centro benessere, poi
there's a small spa,
e poi hanno visto c'è anche la piscina,
the swimming pool, the garden,
c'è il parco,
il villino.
E c'è il villino.
There's a smaller villa as well, so yeah, it's a complex.
It's a complex, yeah, and I think that's the unique part that again makes this experience different than what most Canadian travelers are accustomed to. You know, we travel, we stay in hotels, but here it's like having your own little private estate for a week in this part of Italy. So I'm very excited about it. One other thing that I wanted to ask though is, you know, we're going to be doing our dining in the villa itself, and I mean we have here a lovely picture of the dining room. Tell us what about the cuisine that we can expect there? What type of food? I mean, you know, half the reason we go to Italy is to eat. So I'm curious about the food.
Noi abbiamo scelto una cucina tradizionale veneta che abbiamo definito tipica di campagna, con ovviamente dei, diciamo così, riferimenti anche classici internazionali, ma proponiamo qualcosa anche proprio di tipico di Veneto.
Yeah, if you have to define the cuisine that is, as you know, different in all Italy, we have some classical reference, but it's the traditional cuisine of countryside of the Venetian inland. This is the typical dish. I mean menu, not dish. Yes, but you have also other classical referees to the international cuisine. It's a quite high level. C'era una stella Michelin, no? So the chef was anyway, yes. Not strictly countryside Venetian,
right.
But that's the main target. Yes.
Right. So it's almost like gourmet cuisine is what we can expect there.
Una colazione dica gourmet proprio di altissimo livello.
Yeah. Also, the breakfast is a gourmet breakfast, very high level.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I can already taste it, and all the fresh Italian bread, and anyway, it's going to be delicious. Let's take a few minutes and talk a little bit about the program itself. I think that, we're going to arrive there in this villa, Todd. You're going to show up there. You're probably not even going to want to leave, because I mean, I've been fortunate to stay in villas, not this particular one, but villas like that. And thank you to Mr. Bonetti for his time this morning. That's much appreciated that he could join us on this webinar.
Yeah, he was here to talk about the villa, but now he will come back to say hello to you. Now he's going to do
no problem. Good. Let's talk about the program. The first day we're going to be heading to Vicenza nearby, which is sort of sits in the foothills of the Italian Alps that we can see here. And Vicenza is about gold, as I understand it. And I remember passing through the town a long time ago. Todd, I don't know if you went up there or not.
No, I have not been to Vicenza, but I am interested in the goldsmithing history of it. So I'm wondering, is there any particular shops that you can recommend for our guests, or for craftsmanship, or great deals, or anything like that? Manuel, are there any ones that you can recommend?
Yeah, Vicenza has a very long tradition about gold. It's one of the most important fairs, international fairs of gold, and so we have both the shops with some special product for sure in our beautiful Rinascimento Historic Center that not many people know. But I'd say it's a masterpiece more than Verona and Padova. This is my opinion. To me, we didn't do a lot of tourism as a politics in the last decade, but that's it. And also we know a lot of people that produce. And so we can have, if someone is interested, very good occasions in buying something at a very, very interesting relation quality price.
Yeah, fantastic. Good news for gold shoppers. We're going to do a lithography course while we're there as well, which I thought was kind of a neat idea. What's the thinking behind that, Manuel?
Excuse me.
The course in lithography.
Yeah. We have in general in Italy and also in this part lots of craftsmen that still do something that was done in the centuries ago, and so we will stay in these laboratories. One of this is just this lithography. So you'll be able not only to see this man at work with this, I'd say, incredible place, really, because it's like a diving in history. But yourself, your customers, excuse me, your visitors, your community, your friends will be able to do themselves the job as it was done in the centuries ago. So we have a very long tradition about lithography in general in the Venetian. Are quite famous as well. We had artists on this kind of craft. Yeah, a lot of.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, we love to get our hands dirty. We love to do something, you know, where we obviously there's lots of beautiful historic buildings to see, but I think the opportunity to get hands on is going to be quite special. So we'll have a lovely day. This day, as well as several of the days on our trip, we're going to be tasting wines from the region, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But I just want to continue on. The next day we hit Padua, and I know that the reports that I got back from our group that visited Padua last year, they really enjoyed the city, and Padua is basically synonymous with Galileo, and you know, he did a lot of his lectures here, and I guess really studied astronomy there. It's so, but next to that, you know, Padua is really known for, I think it's a lot of Renaissance architecture. Is that right, Manuel?
Yeah. Well, before I told you that I prefer Vicenza, wasn't well, a reason not to talk about the other incredible cities we have. We have an inland in Veneto that is not so well known just because we have Venice, you know. But we are I think talking about the art cities at the level of Tuscany or even more. Talking about Padua, its characteristic is in the history of the Venetian state is university. So as you told, we had Galileo, but not only, we had a lot of the European culture that passed through here. And even now, we have museums about science and how science was built in the past here. And this was also the place where the boats from Venice arrived physically. And we had a lot of markets and a lot of squares and places where the Venetian aristocratic people landed toward the rest of the inland. So intellectuals and nobles met together in Padua. This could be the way to define the city, and it worked as any other city, for sure.
Yeah, it's as I say, we got great reports. People really enjoyed wandering around Padua, as they do any Italian city. The following day, we're going to do something a little bit different. We get a little bit more active, and you know, we're off to Cittadella, and I think this is an e-bike day, Todd.
Yes, that's exciting. Manuel, can you tell us how that's going to go? I'm really excited about this part of it.
Yeah, about e-bike, we have very special e-bikes. We designed them. We're talking about, if someone that is listening that is passionate about e-bike, we're talking about central engine e-bike with Bosch engine, Shimano. It's something like integrated battery and low entry. So we have 3,000 euro for one e-bike, just to make you understand.
Wow.
And the way on transport that we designed to travel around our length, just designed for that. So no, you won't be, if someone don't know e-bike in general, you won't be stressed physically about it, if like we will bring you to a place where you will take an e-bike and you will do a small path with these bikes among these small cities that, like Cittadella, Castelfranco, are like monuments, actually, not cities, small hamlets in these walls. For example, here in Cittadella, you can do walking. It's the only one, I think, in Italy that you can walk all the walls on, and then we'll come down and we'll do it by the boat. So you have a channel all around the city. So passing from here to another one of these tours, you need a mean that keeps you in the countryside, and among one and the other you can have a tasting. And you talked about wines before. We can talk about wines later. We are one of the best regions in the world about wine. So it will be like that. You'll do 3-4 kilometers and you'll have a tasting, and then you'll have another activity stuff like the one before. Then you'll arrive here. And so, there's no any. I mean, it will be very easy to be done. And at the end, we will come our transfer to pick you up and come back to the villa.
Okay, so we're going to be going by bike, boat, and walking around the monument, the city. Okay. Are the seats comfortable on the bikes? Or the seats, are they comfortable? Sono comodo? Le siediti. Are the seats comfortable?
We have also chosen a special saddle. This is what you are talking about. Very large. And we bought them from Belgium because they have in the north of Europe a great tradition. They are always on the bike, so they know what it means, what you're talking about. And so you can stay even much more hours than the one we will stay.
And are there...
you don't need any special clothes.
Okay, perfect. And I'm curious, you said you're going to be drinking wine and then riding the e-bikes. Is that that's allowed in Italy?
Yeah, but I mean, tasting. And at the dinner, then you can drink as you want. And we bring those wines to the villa. But during the day, there'll be some half glass. Yeah, you can do. And also, let me say the truth about the path. We defined any single track, any single kilometer, in order to have the best tracks about landscape and safety as well. So we are only in slow roads, ancient ones that have no traffic. We have the cycleways, so don't worry. Everything is organized just to have that kind of experience too, not to the cyclotourist, but for anyone that decided just one day to have this hop on, hop off tour, Todd. So if you said walk, boat, bike, and van.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Sounds terrific. I think I might want to host this tour. Anyway. The next day we're going to head up into these, and I hope I pronounce it right, Euganian Hills, and I'm normally pretty good with pronunciation, but we're in the area of Padua again. I'm curious about what this area is all about, because these are volcanic, like originally volcanoes, Manuel, is that right?
Yeah, in fact, you could see the shape of the hills. These are very ancient mountains, so now are low hills and quite near to Venice. This is the reason why the Venetian nobles came here and built here a lot of villas. And also another reason was that you have the thermal water here. So a lot of people from all Europe come here all the year, mostly talking about people from 60 on, and so they can have both this kind of relax and spa, and there are a lot of, and also this the spatial landscape that is among olive trees and vineyards, because also this is a country for the climate in these hills that is perfect for wine. So we have a lot of producers. As owners of the villas, we are also producers, many of us, of wines ourselves. And so
can I have a question about the wines, Manuel. Yeah. Because if the soil is volcanic, how does that affect the terroir for the wines? Is it give it a different distinctive taste, flavor? What makes it more special for these wines there?
Yeah, me myself, I'm not a producer of wine because I'm the one that working on another site. Anyway, the answer is yes. We have a lot of awarded wines here in this region, both white wine and red as well as Thai Rosso, for example, if someone knows it. You know, in this period, Prosecco as a brand is getting a lot of market. But if someone is passionate about wine, we have the best Proseccos as well, but we are the autochthon wines that gives you these flavors that come from the soil. And I'd like you to talk with the owners of these villas that are the producers of the wine, and they will answer better than me to your question. Yeah, because it's a word, wine is a word, and I don't want to talk about what I not know so well. Yeah, but I tasted them, and I can guarantee you about the high quality.
There's no doubt about that, but there's more to this than just wine, because as I understand it, Manuel, we're going to see some of these villas, particularly Villa Barbarigo, have spectacular gardens. In fact, some of the best, they got voted like the best garden in Europe, not that some years back. What can we expect to see there as far as gardens?
Yeah, we have that one. We have Valsanvibio, we have Villa Emo Capodilista, we have a lot of, and the garden is a very important part of the villa, because the villa was the point of meeting among man and nature, as among economy and culture, because the nobles had their palaces in the city where they had all the institutional meetings, but their economy was in the countryside. And these villas were the place where you could manage all of your properties. So the architecture and nature, this kind of relation is what we would be able to tell you if you come. And the garden as a place where you build the nature, you give shape to the nature. This is an art, and it's very related to the art of architecture about the villas. You couldn't have a villa without its garden. So it's one story to be told together. And anyone is different. Anyone is different.
It sounds truly marvelous. As we head into the next day, we're going to see some more of these remarkable villas. Villa Poiana, you mentioned, I think already, Colli Berici, all up in the Berici Hills. Is it Berici? Am I pronouncing that the right way?
Berici.
Berici. There you go. I'll get my Italian straight one of these days. Once again, we'll see some marvelous villas in this area. This is also a wine area. What's the highlight, would you say, about this particular area that we're going to visit as well? This is another e-bike day, I think, that we're going to be traveling around, yeah?
Yes. I'd say if another day of wine, for sure, another day of hills and of villa, but different from the other ones. Mm-hmm. The matter is, we had different cities that decided to submit to Venice, willing it, but Venice left to any of these territories and any of the cities and the families that managed them a great capacity to organize themselves. So the culture in the Venetian islands of each province, okay, its region is a different one. So you have different tastes. Here, for example, you have the moment, I'm looking for the word, the truffle. We have
truffle
black truffle, yeah, that gives birth to a lot of dishes that we don't have, for example, in the Ugandan hills. About the villa, probably anyone that is a bit interested about our UNESCO heritage, you know, Villa La Rotonda, that is the most famous one that is here. And also, if I had to say in just 30 seconds another word about the BERICI, I'd say that probably our Arcadia. I mean, a place where you can feel the very ancient culture, even that came before the Roman age. And to explain that, I would have to bring you there and to make you understand why all that kind of mythology and tradition resist in these years. It's difficult in so few time. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, sounds like another wonderful day in the countryside. Our last whole day on this trip is we'll head over to Verona, which I think many people will be familiar with because so many Shakespearean plays were set there. And what about Verona? Todd, we were talking about this just before we got on the webinar.
Yes, Manuel, I was speaking to Amber, who hosted last year's trip to Italy, and the guests on the trip really liked walking around and visiting the markets. And I'm just wondering, what is there that other tips to see that's maybe off the tourist track or the tourist route that you would recommend?
Yeah, Verona is our small Rome in our region. Anyone knows the arena? And so what there's around about our opera, that is another very Italian way of expression, and Verona is quite large as a historic center, and so even here we know the local places where to eat something special or to do something special, and yeah, even in this case, I could tell you some place, but probably the name of the road or the square wouldn't be so interesting because we wouldn't say anything.
We just have to come on the trip, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's something about Venice, so the golden age of Venice, but also Rome, music, and also I feel something that goes toward the lake in the atmosphere. I will explain why. It's different than the other cities I talked to you about before. It's something that goes toward west. This is what I can feel and not explain so well. Going toward Milan, going toward Europe. Yes, toward Europe. There's, I can say that thing that we had Venice, that was our city in Italy, that made the connection from Europe, the Mediterranean, and the East. You know about that. So our ships went toward East, the East, the Near East, and the Far East as well. And at the beginning, Venice was under Constantinople, the actual Istanbul, the Oriental Roman Empire. That was Venice. But when Venice decided to invest in the inland, to conquer the inland, then it went in relation with a more European culture. And so the other cities in the inland now, and also in that time, have this relation with Venice, but also to Rome and to Europe. And it's a different mixture than the Venetian one. And any one is different, any city is different. This one is the most Western one of our lands.
Right. And I think that's an interesting point, because, you go from Venice to Verona, and it's, as you say, it's almost like being in a different part of Italy. And that's, why they refer to it as the Little Rome. I've always enjoyed the brief stops that I've made in Verona. Our week at the villa will wrap up after that, and I think by this point, with all of the experiences we've had, we're probably not going to want to leave. At least that's always been my experience. The week will fly by, and there'll be so many great experiences. And for those that only have a week's time, we'll bring you back to the airport and say arrivederci from Malpensa. But I've decided to add on a few days, an optional extension in Milan. And Milan is a city that is, it's sort of, one of Italy's main commercial hubs. It's, a lot of business goes on in Milan, and of course it's the fashion capital of Italy, if not the whole world. And so I do recommend, and we put together a very simple little program for 3 days, 3 nights in Milan, staying in the heart of the city. And, every time I see this picture here of Duomo and the Galleria, this is the spot I head for every time I go to Milan. I've been thankful to go to the city countless times. Todd, I think you've passed through Milan before, have you not?
Passed through. Never stayed in the city though, but passed through.
Yeah, exactly. And so this square here in front of the Duomo, I was saying to Joel just before we started the webinar, it's like I must have a dozen pictures of this exact same spot, because when you come to the square, which is seldom devoid of people like you see in the picture, there's always a lot of activity going on. They often have events and conferences, but there's a little department store right next to the Duomo that you can see in the sort of the center left of the picture, which is called Rinascente, and they have this balcony up on the roof where you can sit and you can sip a little Campari soda or an Aperol Spritz and look down on the square, all the activity, and this gleaming white Duomo. They renovated it a bunch of years ago, and it is truly, that's a moment when you feel like you are in a magnificent Italian city. So, spending 3 nights there in Milan will provide one of those Milan cards, which are very handy because it allows you to get all over the city. And there's so many interesting things. And the Duomo itself being, next to the Vatican, the largest cathedral in the country, it is breathtaking to go inside Duomo. And you could literally just spend a couple of days wandering the streets surrounding Piazza Duomo and the Galleria. A lot of the big fashion houses, the Gucci and the Prada, they're all based in the immediate vicinity around there. So there's sort of so much to see and do. One of the other things in Milan, is the Da Vinci Museum, which is this terrific journey inside of what Da Vinci was all about, all these crazy inventions that he did, and insight into his influence on Italian Renaissance. I don't know, Manuel, you obviously are not, you've obviously been to Milan a lot of times, but what for you is the highlight of Milan that you would say a visitor has to see beyond the obvious ones that I've just mentioned?
Milan is growing a lot, both talking about tourism and as a city. So we have, it depends. If someone is interested in history and art, as in our Venetian lands, we have someone of your friends is passionate about picture. We have Giorgione, Tiziano, Tintoretto. We have Tiepolo. A lot of really very famous. Also in Milan, you can see the last dinner of Leonardo, for example, has to be seen if someone comes to Milan, and also talking about the museums. We have a very interesting science museum that starts from this heritage of Leonardo, of Renaissance, but then goes on. Milan is a city of science as well, and science along the centuries. Yes, it's not, the focus is not the science in the 21st century, it's the story of science. So this is something that is very Milanese, we say, very Milanese. and also we have a lot of places where to have some I'd say beautiful evenings. So the Milano evening is very famous in Italy, but also Europe. There's a way of life in Milano that is about a different Bella Vita than the Roma one. It's different. We have something that all the culture that goes along theater and along literature, in general along art also, that is very typical of Milan and has to be discovered, I think, as probably in all the big cities. And the matter is having the good insider, usually. that's the difference.
For sure.
I think probably for almost any historic big cities. Big city.
Yeah, most definitely. As you hit it right on the head. I think my favorite thing about Milan is eating and dining out, and it's the evening in Milan is the way the city is lit up. It's truly magnificent. So to bolt on a few extra days is certainly worthwhile. Let me just wrap things up now by after this 11 wonderful days in Italy, and I'll give you a few of the details about the program, some logistics. First of all, the pricing for our Italian Villa experience, which is between October the 29th and November the 5th, is everything, of course, in Canadian dollars. It's $52.80 Canadian, based on 2 people sharing a room, and a fairly modest single supplement available there. I know we have a lot of solo travelers in our group, and you can add on a few extra days in Milan for quite a reasonable price, and that, of course, is your hotel and this great handy Milan card that, and we have a special tour in store while in Milan as well. Talking about inclusions, as with most of our programs, your accommodation in these wonderful villa that Manuel has just described, as well as dinners, these gourmet dinners that we're going to be having there. All of that sightseeing to all these wonderful towns and cities and hillsides around, it's all part of the program as normal. And of course, the services of your host, who will be taught in this case, is in the program. And then for the Milan extension part of the program, of course, we have 3 nights with breakfast with the city card that enables you access to all of the main sites in Milan. So no shortage of things to do there. As with all of our programs, the airfare is separate, quite easy, and it's quite reasonable to get into Milan. Sorry, the exclusions, so airfare is excluded, insurance, as per usual, the things that we recommend, but are extra. And we do have some special airfares arranged for this program, so you can, of course, book your own air, but we have some particularly good deals on premium economy and business class for this trip. For those of you that are interested in it, the prices are shown there. And we have other airfares, of course, available from anywhere else in Canada that you may be coming from. So as we wrap up, I want to take a few questions. I see that a couple have come in during the webinar, and can, of course, send us an email or give us a call at any time if you do have any follow-up questions. And with that, if there's anything else that our members would like to know. I want to address first off the bat the most obvious question, which for anybody that's read the news, certainly in the last week, obviously the coronavirus has unfortunately made its way to Italy, and But you know, we're all aware of this situation and how it's evolving. So I've spoken to Manuel about it, and you know, they're faced with it sort of first and foremost. And so well, I don't want to ask how people feel about the situation there. I know it's a little bit chaotic at the moment, but is there a feeling of optimism that in a few months' time this thing will hopefully blow over and get taken care of? Manuel?
Yeah. My opinion is that in maximum a couple of months, in Italy we know a bit more than in other places about this contagion. Anyway, as we told together, Gordon, the matter is in any other year we wouldn't be able to give this chance of waiting so much. I mean, there's you know, I haven't understand if you already told about the...
No, I was going to just, mention it now. It was what Manuel was just trying to say is we were discussing this very topic just yesterday. And so we do have a relatively limited number of spots available on this trip. And so, you know, you can grab your spot, but if for some reason the situation isn't under control by May, then we've agreed, I've discussed with Manuel, and we will grant a full refund to any members booking onto this program. As I say, if the situation isn't under control or close to being under control by the time May comes around. So I think that's quite a generous proposition on the part of our colleagues here in Italy, and hopefully will alleviate any concerns that there's no financial risk attached to signing up for this program. So that's I think that's generous, and we're going to hope that everything will get resolved in the not too distant future. So let me address a couple of the other questions that I've just seen pop up on the screen. We have Lucy asked, how far do we have to ride the e-bikes, and how comfortable are the seats? Well, I think the seat comfort you addressed already, Manuel, with the specially designed e-bikes. How long is the bike ride? Because I know some of our folks may be a little reticent about riding these e-bikes.
Yeah, actually you have the bike ride is very easy, and it lasts. We will even talk about, because we have different options, but usually it would be 2-3 hours maximum, but not in continuously. So probably it will be like 30 minutes, then a stop, and totally it will be like a couple of hours. That's the idea. Anyway, there's also the chance. Mi portate una sella, per favore? Una sella. I'm asking to my employers to come here with a saddle. So I'll show you a saddle.
Oh great.
Anyway, there's also another option, that is the e-car. So we have also e-car, because we trust in sustainable mobility, and that's not only... No, non è questa l'altra. That is the other chance. So you will be able to choose or the e-bike with the GPS track navigator and also the 2-liter, or the e-car with the GPS track navigator. You have anyway these 2 options.
Okay,
anyway,
great.
I would recommend the e-bike, because it's really easy. It's nothing.
Well, exactly.
Nothing similar with the bike. Nothing similar.
We'll let everybody give a try of the e-bike, and if for some reason they're not comfortable with it, we'll make it happen by e-car. Well, let me ask one more question. There you go.
So you know, you see how much is large, and so we selected it just for the reason you're asking me.
Perfect.
So this is the saddle.
That looks comfy. I can sit on that for a couple hours for sure. June asked us about are there any cafes near the villa for cappuccino in the morning? Of course, you guys in Italy are famous for your espresso and cappuccino, and so everybody wants to make sure that they can have that classic Italian cappuccino in the morning.
Okay, I'm asking it to the owner of the villa that will prepare the breakfast, not himself. Mi chiedono le colazioni, il vero cappuccino, il vero caffè italiano.
Sì, ma non solo, abbiamo anche una piccola, è il macchiatone, che è una via di mezzo tra il caffè macchiato e il cappuccino, ma abbiamo veramente tutti i prodotti di altissima qualità e non parliamo di succhi di frutta, parliamo solo di spremute di frutta e di cose di altissimo livello, prosciutto, formaggi, muesli, tutte le cose per una veramente, è stata definita da tutti una colazione gourmet.
Okay, so not only obviously the very best coffee and cappuccino and breakfast, but also there's another exclusive one that is macchiatone that has to be discovered. Is another type of caffè latte is different one, and also, for example, the juice is all fresh, made with the fresh fruits, and also the cheeses, and any product is top level, and the breakfast has been defined as a gourmet breakfast.
Poi ogni cliente può chiedere l'omelette, le uova strapazzate, quello che vuole.
So any client can ask at the last moment any kind of egg or anything you want, you will have it.
Perfect. Sounds good. Let's see, any other questions here? Brian asked about how many wine tastings will there be in total? I didn't even count them up myself, but it seems like we have one almost at least once a day. Is that about almost right?
Yeah, we have a couple of days that are more dedicated to the wine, but actually all our territories are full of cellars, ancient cellars, and so in our stops, or in the historic centers, or in the countryside, they are all partners of us in our network. So the 2 days will count more tastings, and about the other ones in the historic center. Yeah, each day will have, if someone wants to, at least one tasting.
Manuel, I have a question about the weather.
That are more dedicated. Yeah.
What is the weather like at the end of October?
Yeah, in Italy, as I told you before, we have a very long season. So we start at the very beginning of March. In the first part of March, usually, because weather is weather, but usually right. Spring come off, and so we start to go outside with the t-shirt also during the first sunny Sundays. And this lasts just until the half of November. Obviously, any year is different, but right. Our high season is, we have two ones. The first one is half March, end of June, and the second one is 1st of September, half of November. Because yeah. July and August, we have high season, but more to the seaside, than in the inland. Yeah. So yeah. I'd say that period is one of the best to come in our. Yeah,
that's my experience as well.
The clouds.
Yeah, and my experience as well is that it can be really hot in Italy in the summertime, and it's super busy often in September and in early October. So I think I kind of like going at the end of October because it's a little cooler, but certainly by our standards, it's still like early autumn and a wonderful time to.
Will the grapes already be harvested at that point, or will we be able to see some of the harvesting as well?
the heart of the
Grape.
When they take the grapes off the vine to make the wine, is that at that time, or is that in September where they cut the grapes off?
Yeah, that's the time of making wine. I mean, all September and also October are the best periods. So we have the new wine that is done, and so you'll see all these cellars. You have to imagine like the Barchesa that I told you before. That is the part of the villa that is about the agriculture. So in these Barchesas of the wine producers, you will sit and have your tastings. We are talking about 16th or 17th century buildings, and you will see around the new wine that has just been done, that is good for the year, the next year, and you will taste the one of the previous year. But the feeling is the feeling of the period of the year when you have the major activity in doing wine. And you'll see it.
Exciting. The exciting part.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up now. It's we've had a great session. I want to extend my thanks to Manuel, Mr. Beretti, for attending our webinar this morning all the way from Italy, and Todd, your host as well. It's been great. Villas, wine, fabulous architecture. I mean, what more could you want from an Italian villa experience? Please drop us your questions, your comments, and we hope that you'll join us in this coming October. And with that, thank you very much for attending our Italian Villa Experience webinar this morning. And we look forward to connecting with you all again very soon. Have a wonderful day.